Howdy folks, welcome to Wonder Eats. Today is a very auspicious occasion for the channel because for two reasons. Number one is basically, I'm actually on camera, I think for the first time in the channel, which is pretty cool. And number two, even more excitingly, is because I'm meeting up with a fellow travel vlogger by the name of Doug. He's actually he manages a channel, The Cycling Canadian, whom I really admire and follow diligently his channel as he trek across Asia, and I've been following him since the beginning of the year, and I'm meeting him today, so that's very cool. Now what I would love to do right now, actually I'm in Pasar Seni. I'm just about to go and meet him, and I can't wait to share this day with the rest of you. Alright. Anyway, stay tuned as we do a short Q&A with Doug later on in this video, and to ask him some intimate questions, especially on my part, which I'm curious to know about him and his life. So ensure that you watch until the end of the video. Let's go and meet him now. Alright, so I'm heading to exit A to meet Doug. Anyway, I'll put his channel link in the description. Do follow him, and he provides great insights on locations that he goes to. And most recently, he was at Bagan and Mandalay and Yangon as well. And I believe he's heading back there. So if you want to see more of Myanmar, do follow him and check him out. Right, so here we go. Exit A. Alright, here we go. And there he is.
Let's see, what do you think? Hi, Daryl.
How are you?
Good. I thought for a minute that this was you.
No.
Now you came up, you know. Wow. Why is it that whenever I go out to a restaurant or a cafe, everyone else orders something that's better than what I ordered every time?
Because you're a loyalist, right? You always order your
I think
cappuccino.
that's what it is. I love cappuccino,
Yeah.
and I really should try other things. So, next time.
Well, here we are at Vintage 1988 Cafe, and Doug just stepped outside to take a little video for his channel. The continuation of the video he's taking today. I can't wait to see it on YouTube actually. Alright, so this is a Q&A with the Cycling Canadian, Doug.
Otherwise known as Douglas.
Yes, Douglas. What's your last name? Yeah.
Well, it's a Dutch name, Nienhuis.
Okay,
Nienhuis. Kind of hard to pronounce.
cool. Interesting.
Yeah, my family, my ancestors, they all come from the Netherlands, from Holland.
Okay.
And they immigrated to Canada after World War II. So my mother and father were both born in the Netherlands, but I was born in Canada.
Which part of it?
A small town called Sarnia. So it's in Ontario,
Okay, cool.
about 3 hours drive from Toronto.
Cool. Okay. Well, the main question I have in my mind is what made you start on this journey actually, traveling and all?
Well, if to really answer that question goes all the way back to my childhood, it doesn't really make any sense considering my upbringing. But even when I was a young boy, as young as I can remember, I wanted to go overseas. And I wanted to go to other countries. And at that time, I didn't even know what that meant. My family was not international. We didn't even get the Canadian national newspaper in the house. We only got the local paper. Nobody went to other countries. My family, we didn't even go in airplanes. We didn't go on holidays. Nothing. And yet, for some reason, I had this urge to go to other countries. And I didn't even know how to do it. I didn't know people who did it. And because of my Dutch connection, the country in my mind was Indonesia.
Ah, yeah.
That seemed like the ultimate exotic place to go, and I kind of dreamed of always someday going to Indonesia.
Okay.
So always in the back of my mind is this idea, someday I want to go to other countries. and I looked at National Geographic magazines. That was my window into that world, the only one I had, reading those, seeing all the amazing pictures from around the world. And that was kind of my inspiration, really, National Geographic. And when I went to university, my first year, I was walking down this hallway in a building, and I saw a poster for an organization in Canada called Canada World Youth. And it's like an exchange program. They send young Canadians to other countries around the world, and they do placements in villages, and you live with a local family and have all these experiences. It's about 8 months long, the whole program. And I looked into it, got an application form, filled it out. My application was selected. I had to go through all these long interviews. They had all these exercises to make sure that you're capable of dealing with language problems, cultural differences, all this kind of thing. And I was selected to go to India. So my first trip overseas was India.
How old were you?
I think I was 19.
Oh.
So I was already pretty old in a way for my first trip overseas. But back in those days, it wasn't as common as it is now to go backpacking around the world. So I went to India. My mind blew. Like, it just literally blew my mind, the whole experience. And from that day on, all I was interested in doing was finding a way to go to new countries.
So you caught the traveling bug, right?
I caught the traveling bug.
Okay, good.
And that led me to find a way to go overseas, and the one way I could find back then was to teach English. So, again, I didn't know how to do it. I really didn't know anybody who had done it, except for one friend of mine who knew some people who did it. I spoke to them, and they had gone to Korea to teach English. I got some information from them, and I flew to Korea, to Seoul, back in the 90s, I guess, early 90s. Got a job teaching English and started traveling, and I never really went back to Canada since then.
Seriously?
Yeah, I've gone back for visits, but I've never had a real job in Canada. I've never had another car in Canada, never had an apartment or a house.
When was the last time you were back?
This time, boy, the last time I was back 7 years ago, maybe. So I haven't been to Canada for about 7 years. No, more. I'd have to calculate it. Maybe as long as 10 years. Yeah.
At one point you mentioned that you were in Taiwan. So from Korea you went to Taiwan.
Yeah, my pattern in Korea was work for a year, save all my money, quit my job, go traveling for a year. When I ran out of money, go back to Korea, get another job, save all my money, quit my job, go travel. So I did that for about 10 years. And after that, I decided to get a job in a new country instead of going back to Korea. So I went to Taiwan, and I kind of did the same thing there. I got a job teaching English, but then I got a job as an editor at a newspaper. And after that, I got a job as an editor and writer for English magazines and textbooks. So that was my job in Taiwan. I was a writer and editor. And it was a bit more stable, more steady. And I was there for a few years, going to work every day, office job. All my traveling was pretty much in Taiwan. Loved the country. I bought a really nice scooter, 150cc scooter. It was my favorite possession in my entire life. I've never loved anything as much as I love that scooter. Because the thing you do in Taiwan is just drive your scooter.
Do you still own it?
No. When I left Taiwan, I had to sell it.
Yeah, I had to sell it.
So, I miss that scooter so much.
So right now, are you in the year whereby you're taking the traveling part, and next year going back to work, or?
No, this is more long term.
Long term.
Because I worked in Taiwan so long that I saved more money than normal. So when I left, I quit my job, sold everything in my apartment, gave away most of everything actually because it was so hard. It's too much trouble to sell it.
Agreed.
It was like I invited people over and said, "Hey, you need a microwave? You need a desk? You need a computer? Take it." Selling it was too much trouble, so I just gave everything away. I had my bicycle still. So I flew from Taiwan to the Philippines, started traveling by bicycle, and my original idea was to ride my bike all the way from the Philippines to Europe.
Wow.
Like this, it's a classic cycling route, takes you through Central Asia, all the way into Europe. That was my idea, but either I'm too lazy to do that. I'd like to think it's not laziness, it's more like I get really settled. So instead of traveling a lot, I like to go to one place and stay there and really kind of live there. You know, kind of like I've done in Kuala Lumpur, really get to know the city quite well, and then move on to a new place. So I kind of gave up on this idea of the Central Asia journey by bike. And I thought I just delayed it and I would eventually do it. But then, as you know, I started up a new hobby, making YouTube videos. And that has occupied so much of my time and so much energy. I haven't figured out a way to combine it with cycling yet. Right now, I'm just kind of flying to a new country, making videos, flying back to Kuala Lumpur, and I'm not taking my bike with me. Because I think that would be too much of a challenge right now.
Did you get a sense that you were doing it a little bit when you were journeying on an e-bike in Bagan? Because your GoPro was harnessed there, right? So it could technically be a preview to what you would do with your cycle.
To an extent, I used to watch a lot of what they call moto vloggers. There's a guy in Taiwan, he's called M13. You know, if you look at him up on YouTube, M13, I think he was the very first moto vlogger in Asia, the first Westerner. He's another Canadian, actually.
I see. Okay.
And he didn't do the vlogging. He never showed his face.
I see.
So his identity was a complete mystery. He took it wasn't a GoPro, but he took a camera, mounted it on his on his helmet, ran a microphone into his helmet, so it was pointing ahead of him. So every day he would get on his motorcycle and drive around Taiwan and then talk while he's driving. And you saw the road ahead of him. So it was kind of like in his video diary, his thoughts, his life, and I really enjoyed that. So that was my idea, to take a GoPro, put it on my bicycle handlebars, and ride my bike and talk while I'm cycling. You know, so in Bagan, when I put the GoPro on the e-bike, that was the very first time I tried it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that would work out really well.
And at one time you turned it around as well, right? So
I turned it around, and that felt kind of goofy in a way. When I was looking at the video later, I guess because of the angle of the camera, it looked like I was floating in space. You couldn't see the scooter at all, so I was sort of floating along, you know. And you're looking at me the whole time, and yet all around me were these amazing temples and the Myanmar landscape, and yet you couldn't see any of them. So after a while I thought, this is kind of silly, let's turn the camera back around and point it away from me. That was a successful experiment.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So someday I hope to ride my bike and sometimes walk around vlogging and sometimes mount the GoPro on the handlebars and record while I'm cycling. You know, to do both.
Correct.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's next for you? You're going back to Myanmar?
Yeah.
So what's after that?
That's a really good question. I keep trying to cycle. So I thought my original idea was to go to Myanmar, maybe one more month. As I've been talking about, I really want to go to a lot of places in Myanmar this time, like really travel around. I want to be a real traveler this time. And then come back to Kuala Lumpur. And once I'm here, kind of get settled again, get organized. And I'm playing around with this idea of going to Pakistan.
Okay.
Because someone told me that there are really inexpensive flights from here to Pakistan and back again. And visas for Pakistan are easier to get. That's what someone told me, that Canadians can now get a visa on arrival. So I thought, wow, well, since I'm here, why not take advantage of that? Come back to Kuala Lumpur, book a flight to Pakistan, do some traveling there, back to Kuala Lumpur again. And ultimately, I plan to get my bicycle in the program.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking maybe Sri Lanka.
Oh, nice.
I think Sri Lanka would be a really interesting country to cycle in. So I'm thinking of boxing up my bicycle, flying to Colombo in Sri Lanka, and then doing a bike tour of Sri Lanka, shooting video at the same time. And then from there, I don't know. I have so many countries I want to visit, but I'm not sure how to get there yet.
Cool. Wow. What's the most, in your journey so far, the most unique experience for yourself that you will recall from your journey so far?
Yeah, I've got two answers to that question. My first trip to India, my first time anywhere, my first time outside of Canada. Like I said, that experience blew my mind, and it affected me in so many ways, and I thought about it for years and years to come. So that whole experience changed my life. But that was a long time ago. More recent was my trip to Ethiopia, and my trip to Ethiopia was my first really big cycling trip, or the biggest, most challenging one. Before that, I'd ridden my bike across Canada, but I'm very familiar with Canada. I mean, it's not easy to do, but it's not that crazy a thing to do. But flying to Ethiopia with my bike and riding through the northern mountains of Ethiopia, they have a Simeon Mountains, this northern plateau in Ethiopia.
I wish you got a video for that.
I know. There are pictures on my blog, and I did a little bit of writing while I was there, but not enough. But that experience equaled India in terms of the impact it had on me. I had an incredible number of experiences there. I could talk about Ethiopia for hours. It was such a surprise to me. Everything there was brand new. The food, the people. I love coffee, and the story is that coffee originated from Ethiopia. That's where the first coffee plants came from. And in Ethiopia, they have the coffee ceremony. They call it the Buna and Falal. And it's a huge part of their culture that involves laying out grass, building a little charcoal fire. The women gather around it. They put kind of incense on the fire so you get this beautiful smell. And they brew the coffee in a very complex way. And then they blow the coffee aroma towards the guest, so that you breathe in the coffee fumes. And you always have 3 cups of coffee from the same brew. And the first cup, of course, is the strongest. And the second cup is a little bit weaker, and the third cup. And each one has a symbolic meaning. And the whole family every day gathers around for the Buna and Falal, the coffee ceremony. And if you show up as a guest, as a foreigner, if you were there, you're automatically invited to join the coffee ceremony. And you sit down, it's a social gathering, and talk with everyone, and drink the coffee. And it's an amazing experience. So that is just one thing I did in Ethiopia that astonished me, or it's really interesting to do. Again, like I said, I could list a dozen things like that about Ethiopia. It's an incredible country, and for a traveler to go there, it's so challenging still. Oddly enough, when I went, the roads that I cycled on were all rock, were all rough, unpaved roads. But what I've seen online now, all those roads are paved. So everything is getting a little bit easier. The country's developing, the economy's developing very fast. But if you go there as a backpacker, it's not like going to Thailand. It's not even like going to Myanmar. It'll be much more challenging. You really feel like you'd be having a real travel experience. I think that applies to anywhere in Africa. So long term, I really want to do more cycling in Africa. Countries like Uganda, Malawi, the cluster of countries in West Africa, Benin, Togo, all these places I really want to go to.
second last question. So far in your YouTube career, any particular incident that you felt the safety was a concern so far? Because as one of your subscribers, there are certain videos when I watch, I was very concerned for you, for your safety.
Okay.
So did you feel that any particular one of your journey so far?
No, I honestly haven't at all. Certainly nothing specific to shooting video, because my whole life I've been doing this. I've had some been in some pretty dangerous situations in Ethiopia. I mean, I talked about what an amazing country it is, but it's also a really tough country. And I went to Guinea in West Africa, and at the time they had civil wars going on in bordering countries, Liberia and places like that. And I ran into some pretty crazy situations there. But I never, I would just grab my camera. Back in those days, I would take pictures.
Yes.
And I just went anywhere I wanted to. So it's my habit to just grab my camera, go out walking, anywhere I want to go, take pictures. Anything interesting I see, go into markets. I love rivers, boats. Love to go down to the river, hop on the boat, see where it goes. So all the stuff I've been doing in my videos, that's normal for me. It's something I've always done, so it's no more risky or dangerous than anything I've ever done. And shooting video hasn't added any kind of a dangerous element, other than maybe not watching where you're going because of the traffic and things like that. You kind of get distracted a little bit because you're looking at the camera and you're talking, and so you have to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings, that kind of thing. I might think a little bit about snatch thieves. The people that ride motorcycles and they grab things. If you're holding a camera, taking pictures, you're generally holding it here, and you're taking pictures. But if you're a silly vlogger like me, now I'm holding the camera way out ahead of me, and it's almost like a sign saying, please take me, steal this camera. A guy could ride by on a motorcycle and snatch it out of my hand just like that. It would be so easy to do. But that's part of the deal. A few people have asked me, even people in the countries I go to, they're worried for me. More worried for me than I am. And they're worried that I'm wandering through these neighborhoods carrying this expensive camera gear. But before I go outside, I've already gotten adjusted to the idea of losing it. Like, if the camera is stolen, it's gone. I have to get a new one. It's expensive and it's a bummer, but that's part of the deal, If the camera is safe in my knapsack, I can't shoot any video or take any pictures. So I try to just set that aside. It's part of the cost of doing it.
Cool. So as the last question, since Kuala Lumpur is sort of your interim base, so to speak, can you share with us what's the first thing that Kuala Lumpur has impressed upon you?
Well, the first thing, and I think it's the one thing that a lot of visitors mention, so it might be kind of boring, I don't know.
It's fine.
Just the mix of the three main cultures, Chinese, Malay, and the Indian communities. You don't see that in too many places, at least not so strongly, where you have the three large communities living side by side, and you see the effects of that everywhere. So there's the Indian buffet restaurant, there's the Chinese outdoor noodle spot, there's the Malay restaurant. You go into the MRT, and in that one car, you'll see, three women going to the Hindu temple in gorgeous saris from head to toe with all the gold jewelry for a special occasion. Right beside them will be three Malay women in a burqa and then Islamic style clothing, and then you've got the Chinese beside them, and they're all together in that car, and you kind of see that everywhere you go. And I know from what I've read and talking to people, there is some tension between those three groups when you get into politics or economics and business, and it's there, but nowhere near what I would expect. You know, the three groups are just living happily together. And if you go to the National Museum here, the story of the founding of Malaysia is the story of those three groups agreeing to form a country together and transitioning into independence more or less peacefully. And that whole story is, on a world stage, unique. It's incredible. You know, you don't hear that story very often. That independence story after the colonial era, for most countries, is a very violent one. And for Malaysia, in general, you know, it wasn't. So that mixed cultures is something that really jumped out at me the first, you know, when I first got here.
Cool. Anyway, thanks a lot, Doug, for being on our channel. Can you see that? And it's quite surreal to see you in person rather than on the monitor again. And wish you all the best in your travels.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's special episode, and thanks for watching. I hope to catch up with Doug next time he's back to Kuala Lumpur. I wish him all the best in his journey to Myanmar. Do subscribe to our channel and click on that bell icon to get notified of our next video. So cheers, see you guys, bye, thanks for watching.